In the ancient city of Athens, a man named Socrates walked the streets asking questions that unsettled the comfortable and awakened the thoughtful. He owned little, wrote nothing, and yet his words changed the course of philosophy forever. His method was simple. He asked others to think, to look within, and to question the assumptions by which they lived. His guiding conviction was captured in one timeless declaration: the unexamined life is not worth living. These words, spoken at his trial before the Athenian court, were not a boast, but a reflection of deep conviction. Socrates was accused of corrupting the youth and impiety against the gods, yet he refused to abandon his mission of inquiry. For him, philosophy was not a profession, but a way of life, a lifelong pursuit of understanding the truth about the self and the world. His statement reveals a simple but profound idea, that life without reflection, without awareness, is an existence without meaning. To understand this wisdom, one must first see what Socrates meant by examination. It was not a mere act of analysis, but a deep and honest inquiry into one's own beliefs, motives, and actions. It was a turning of the gaze inward to uncover ignorance and illusion. Socrates believed that most people lived in unawareness, guided by opinion, custom, or desire rather than knowledge. To live without questioning was, to him, to live mechanically, to drift through life without truly understanding what it means to be human. His method of questioning, known today as the Socratic Method, was based on dialogue. He engaged others by asking simple yet piercing questions. What is justice? What is courage? What is virtue? Through conversation, he revealed how often people claimed to know but could not explain what they believed. This realization of ignorance was not an end but a beginning, the starting point of wisdom. For Socrates, the first step to knowledge was recognizing how little one truly knows. Self-knowledge, therefore, was the foundation of his philosophy. It was not about gathering external information or mastering abstract theories. It was about understanding the soul, the inner nature of the self, its desires, fears, and values. He believed that true happiness and moral integrity arise only from such understanding. Without knowing oneself, one cannot know how to live rightly. The examined life, in this sense, is a life of awareness, guided by reason and conscience rather than impulse or habit. To Socrates, virtue and knowledge were inseparable. He taught that no one does wrong willingly. Wrongdoing arises from ignorance. A person who truly understands what is good will naturally act in accordance with that understanding. This idea made self-knowledge not merely an intellectual pursuit, but a moral one. To examine life is to align thought, intention, and action with truth. It is to live with integrity. The unexamined life, on the other hand, is a life ruled by unrecognized forces, by desires, fears, and social conventions that go unquestioned. It may appear comfortable, yet it lacks depth and direction. Without reflection, choices become reactions, and existence becomes a cycle of repetition rather than growth. Socrates saw this as a form of sleepwalking through life, a state of unconsciousness where one lives without truly living. His commitment to examination was tested when he faced death. Offered the chance to renounce his beliefs and go free, he chose instead to stand by truth. To abandon his inquiry, he said, would be worse than death itself. For him, life was not measured by length but by depth. To exist without thought was, in essence, to betray the very purpose of human consciousness. His calm acceptance of death was the ultimate expression of his philosophy, a demonstration that a life of truth is more valuable than life itself. This teaching carries timeless significance. In every age, people are surrounded by distractions that pull attention outward, toward possessions, status, and endless activity. Yet Socrates reminds that meaning does not lie in the external, but in the internal. To live wisely is to understand oneself, to question one's motives, and to act from awareness rather than conformity. The examined life cultivates clarity amid confusion and stability amid change. Socrates often spoke of the soul as the true self, the part of being that reasons, chooses, and aspires toward good. He believed that caring for the soul was the highest duty, far more important than wealth, power, or pleasure. External achievements, he argued, mean little if the inner self remains in disorder. Self-knowledge is thus a form of self-care, a way of nurturing the health of the soul. Without it, the soul becomes clouded by ignorance and desire. In this view, examination is not limited to philosophical thought. It is practiced through daily awareness, by observing emotions, questioning motives, and seeking truth in each action. It involves the courage to face one's flaws without denial, and the humility to accept that wisdom is an ongoing pursuit. The examined life is not perfect, but honest. It seeks progress, not perfection. Socrates' legacy endures because his insight touches the very nature of what it means to live meaningfully. To live without reflection may offer comfort, but it offers no growth. It allows existence to unfold passively, shaped by external forces rather than conscious choice. The examined life, however, transforms existence into a deliberate act of creation. Each decision becomes an expression of understanding, and each moment becomes an opportunity for truth. His wisdom also reveals the link between self-knowledge and freedom. Ignorance binds the mind, knowledge liberates it. When one understands oneself, the power of external control diminishes. Opinions of others lose their grip, and the search for approval gives way to inner stability. Socrates lived this freedom fully. Though condemned by his city, he remained unshaken, knowing that truth was his companion. His peace in the face of injustice came from knowing that no external power could corrupt the integrity of his soul. This principle of examination extends beyond individual life. A society that fails to question itself falls into decay. When people stop reflecting on justice, ethics, and truth, they become guided by impulse and authority rather than wisdom. Socrates' death itself was a lesson in this truth. Athens silenced the very voice that sought its awakening. His execution became a symbol of the danger of unexamined living, both for the individual and for civilization. Yet his death did not end his influence. His student Plato carried forward his teachings, recording the dialogues that preserved Socratic thought. Through them, generations have encountered the same challenge: to live consciously, to question deeply, and to seek truth beyond appearance. Each era finds its own distractions, but the call to self-knowledge remains unchanged. Socrates' view of self-knowledge also reflects a profound understanding of human limitation. To know oneself fully is impossible, but the effort itself refines the soul. The process of inquiry, of asking, reflecting, and learning, creates growth. Wisdom for Socrates was not possession but pursuit. The wise are those who know that they do not know, and who remain open to learning. This humility protects the mind from arrogance and keeps it aligned with truth. The examined life, therefore, is not a destination, but a journey. It is lived through mindfulness, through the willingness to pause and consider before acting. It values self-awareness over appearance, understanding over judgment, and authenticity over conformity. Each moment of reflection brings life closer to harmony with truth. Socrates taught that the soul's well-being depends on this inner harmony. When thoughts, words, and actions align, the soul experiences peace. When they conflict, the soul suffers. Examination brings alignment. It reveals inconsistencies and invites correction. Through self-knowledge, the soul learns to govern itself with wisdom rather than impulse, achieving what Socrates called arete, or excellence of character. This way of living transforms ordinary existence into a philosophical one, not through complex theories, but through conscious attention. It does not require wealth, education, or status, but only sincerity. The simplest acts, speaking truthfully, acting justly, treating others with fairness, become expressions of the examined life. Socrates himself lived this simplicity, showing that greatness lies not in possessions, but in the integrity of thought and action. In the end, the statement, "The unexamined life is not worth living," is not a condemnation, but an invitation. It calls for awakening from unconscious living into awareness. It asks that existence be guided by reflection, not habit, by understanding, not ignorance. To live examined is to live with purpose, to see clearly, act rightly, and die peacefully, knowing that life was spent in the pursuit of truth. Socrates left no writings, yet his wisdom endures because it speaks to the universal human condition. Every life, regardless of time or place, faces the same question: what does it mean to live well? His answer remains clear. To live well is to live consciously, to know oneself, to seek truth, and to let that truth shape every thought and action. The examined life, in this sense, is a life of authenticity. It does not chase endless pleasure or fear inevitable pain. It finds meaning in understanding, strength in honesty, and peace in integrity. It is the life of one who looks within and discovers that the greatest wisdom is not found in distant theories, but in the depths of the human soul itself. And so, the wisdom of Socrates endures, a timeless reminder that self-knowledge is the foundation of all wisdom, and that only through examination does life rise from mere existence to true living.